What's going on, everybody? It's Chris Classic dropping another video. Before I go on, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Also to subscribe to C3 Ultimate Wrestling channel. I have all the matches from Guys vs. Gals, and I'm putting the promos up. So enjoy the wrestling. Make sure you subscribe. I'm going to talk about a topic that comes up on the internet every time Cody Rhodes show up. If you've seen the title, you already know. Is Cody Rhodes underrated, overrated, or right where he needs to be? Before I go into it, I give an applause to Cody for leaving the company. Felt like was mismanaging him, underutilizing him to do something that his father probably would have did, working with other wrestlers, having the financial backing to run an own company, to do your own thing. So that's one thing. I'm gonna say that, because even me as a promoter, I did my own thing and everything like that. All right, I give you kudos to that. I'm not a hater. It's growing as we speak. Going in. My personal opinion about Cody Rhodes is he's a solid worker, he's a solid wrestler, but I do think he puts himself a little bit too high to my liking. He has opportunities to change that. He has an opportunity to change a lot of things, but I think the way that he books himself, because we're going to be honest, he books himself like this, I think it's just a little too high. I would have liked the underdog thing more for Cody, because the way he's booking himself is sort of WWE-ish. You're an exec, you have the belt. You know, I already spoke about him in other videos. I spoke about Kenny, I spoke about the Bucks. But I think, especially with Cody, Cody still has the name. It still has WWE residue on it. You know, we can't act like it doesn't have any residue. Like if you say, do you know who Cody Rhodes is? And then they say, who? Oh, he's in AEW. What's that? Oh, he used to be in WWE. He was with Randy Orton and whatever like that. Oh, yeah, Cody. So I think that he masked that well of having the residue on his name. With that being said, the storylines, the stuff with his wife, I think that is very WWE-ish. And I think that's why a lot of people are sour about how Cody Rhodes is booked. For example, his wife, who definitely needs some work in the ring. Oh my gosh, she definitely needs some work. Like, almost every match I've seen her in, she looks like it's her first match. And if you are a wrestler, you know what I mean. Jittery, don't know what to do, next thing like that, a little robotic, loose at times. Now, before I go in more, I'm going to say this channel, this video is not to bash her because she's a woman, and it's not to bash her because she is a woman of color. This is not the channel for that. I'm talking about wrestling here. I'm not talking about this kind of stuff. I've seen a lot of stuff on the internet where people talk about her, they talk about all kind of other people because of this and that and the other. We're not that. We're not doing this here. We're talking about wrestling. And I think with her wrestling, even when she was on Impact, it was just so bad. And she can improve. You know, with wrestling, people can improve sometimes quicker than others, sometimes slower than others. So I just think that people were happy that Cody Rhodes was somewhere else, and they didn't want to say, hey man, you know, could you train your wife? You know, it sounds awkward, but at the same time, if you do love this business, sometimes you do have to tell your significant other, hey, you got to step it up a little bit. And I think that Cody failed to do that. And even when in AEW, they had the women's tag tournament, and she almost won it. And then she even beat a lot of women in one-on-one matches. And it's just like, okay. And it was no point. There's no guilt to it. There's nothing big to it. So that's one thing. As far as the title picture goes, you know, he faced Chris Jericho, and he can never face. A lot of people do that, so I won't be upset. I'm not really upset about that. I'm not really upset. That was a bad choice of word there. But anyway, him winning the TNT title, being the first one, and then also being the first two-time, a lot of people didn't like that as well. Why don't you put these younger guys over, despite the fact that Cody's 35? But I understood what they were talking about. They were saying, like, how could you do what WWE has been doing? You know, you're an exec. You might not own the company, but you have a big part in it. And it's like we started to realize that, yo, you're booking yourself to do these kind of things. You know, does Cody bring ratings to AEW? Probably, but so does all of these other guys in WWE, who these older guys that people hate so much, that have a part-time schedule, which Cody has in common with them, because Cody does a part-time schedule as well. He's not there every week. And I know that his wife just had a baby, which congrats and stuff like that. And, you know, it was like a health scare because he was going through something. You know, I'm thankful to God that they had a healthy baby. But before that, he was doing part-time because you want people to miss you. Because I do feel that more people probably wouldn't appreciate Cody or like Cody if he was wrestling every other week. So that's why he leaves and he comes back. He's already on a part-time schedule at 30-something years old. What a life to live. Now, and that's my take, is that you go against these guys who've been there, who've been solid. Like, for example, QT Marshall. I like QT Marshall. I really do. But at the same time, I think he won a tag against Cody when he went against, I think he won a tag against. It was just like, it was never meant for QT to succeed. And it was an interesting storyline about how they turned and everything. It was good. But then it was just like Cody went part-time again, left, and then he came back, and they did what they were supposed to do, I guess. And then now, like, when Sting came, Cody had a part of it. And I liked what Sting said, "I'm not here for you." Now, that was funny. What's his name? Malachi Black, he came, and then now they're in a feud or whatever like that. I hope Cody loses, Cody's lost a couple times, so I'm not going to sit here and act like he has an undefeated streak. But when you've been in wrestling for so long, and a lot of people start watching WWE because of crazy decisions like this, you don't get a pass at AEW, my opinion. He's a solid worker. He can do promos and everything like that. And, he might have felt misused and everything, but I will say he has given his 100% in WWE. Now, AEW, I can't say, because right now, the way he's booking himself, the way he's not wrestling every week, and a wrestler doesn't have to wrestle every week when I say that. I'm saying, like, when you take a long time off or some time off and you're not wrestling or whatever like that. That's what I'm saying. You don't have to wrestle every week. You guys have a big roster. But what I'm saying is the way he books himself, because he does book himself. You have to watch these kind of things because eventually it can go stale. Like, I feel like if Cody Rhodes has a undefeated streak from here until next year to this day, more people would be sick of it. So, I do think if he toned it down a little bit, a lot of people would appreciate him more. But I do feel like he feels he's a little bit higher than where he needs to be. But the crowd still loves him. He has his special entrance, and people like that. People was talking about the gender reveal. I thought it was funny, but the gender reveal at a wrestling show, hey, more people are doing it. That's like the third video I've seen. But like I said, it's no shade. I just think that Cody he's a great worker. He's a great wrestler. I just think that he just needs to go down a peg a little bit. Like, I understand you are making money. You're doing a lot of things. You're taking care of a lot of people. Congrats to the factory, the wrestling academy that you have. But at the same time, I do think that, like, if he continues at this rate, I think people will get sick, and then the boos will come. And that's why I think he clamored to being an American. And talked about Anthony Ogogo and everything, and it fell flat to a lot of us because it was like, where did this come from? Like, Ogogo didn't say screw America. He put his nation's flag over Cody. Okay, and then the way Cody just did that tone deaf promo, that was another thing too, because I think if you want to get over, all you have to do is have an American flag. When I first started my first match, I went against the Sheik, and I had to say USA, and that got me over because he was having his, his character's flag and everything like that, and people were already born. All I had to do was say USA. So Cody did the same thing so everyone could go. But then when you look at the social media, because people don't do kayfabe anymore, you see Ogogo was like really going in about certain things and things that America's done that we shouldn't be proud of. And I was just like, I'm Team Ogogo. So these are the things. You just got to be careful with how you book yourself in a company that you help create. I have to do this myself as a promoter and a booker for a company because I don't want people to just think I have a company and I can just put myself in any position. I've seen many companies, mainstream and in indie scene, just do stuff, and it's just like, why would you put yourself over on this? Why would you give yourself a championship? Why would you do this? And it makes people not even take your company legit. So if Brandy comes back and ever wins the AEW Women's title and she hasn't improved, it kind of proves my point, because you just need to work on stuff. Like, I do like what they're doing there. They could work on some stuff. WWE can work on some stuff. You know, I'm very critical of both of these companies. I'm not team WWE. I'm not team AEW. I'm team Classic. I'm gonna be honest with you guys on how I feel about it. If you disagree, you disagree. But like I said, Cody Rhodes is good. He's a great worker. I just think he needs to be down a couple pegs. This is Chris Classic. Let's take it home.